Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard and I'm sending you this video for the first week of our second 8 weeks course in the fall of 2020. That is World Literature 1. I hope you're all doing well and I'd like to welcome you all to this class. Every week I will send you a video, save the week of Thanksgiving, that will kind of give you a heads up of what you need to do. What I'll do that week, by the way, is I'll send two videos the prior week, one dealing with that week's work, and then a later in the week video that will deal with what you would need to do over Thanksgiving week. I will not have the ability to make videos the week of Thanksgiving because I will be on the physical campus will be closed and I will be on vacation that week. But technically the class still goes on, so I'll give you the heads up of what it is you'll be dealing with. I made it work to where you'd just be watching two different videos anyway, so it kind of works out for you and for me, for simplicity's sake, to do so. But you will get a video every single week. I apologize for this one being later in the week that I'd wanted, but unfortunately I've been dealing with many health issues this semester, and actually had an appointment yesterday with a doctor. I've had a gazillion appointments with doctors, so between that, trying to get things done for my other classes, I made the note yesterday, but I knew I wouldn't be able to get the video done until today, and so that's why you're getting the video today. I usually try to get all my videos done on Wednesday. Occasionally, if I think you need it on Tuesday, I'll do one. But most of the time, the way I kind of work my classes is a lot of time on Monday, I usually get through a lot of the technical stuff that I needed to do, in particular dealing with emails and certain elements of the job that I have to do it then, whereas Tuesday is usually the day where I start grading things, and then I usually have some grading on Wednesday, but then that also gives me the time to get the videos done that I need to get done. So it kind of goes along that schedule. So I'll try my best to make sure all videos for all of my classes will be on Wednesdays from now on. Kind of want to let you know what it is that you're doing, because considering this is an 8 weeks course, we don't have the time to I usually like to ease into a course with a nice have you just read the syllabus and kind of read over things, go over the course calendar, and wait a little bit for work when you get done. But with it being an 8 weeks course, we don't have the time to do so. In fact, if you've hopefully have read your syllabus, you will already have noticed the course calendar at the end that you already have things to read. Now, the good news is this. While you are reading the Iliad and Odyssey, you're not reading the entirety of the Iliad and Odyssey. You're only reading parts of the Iliad and Odyssey, so don't freak out about that. You'd be reading a lot more if it was more advanced class, but this is, while a sophomore level course and is more advanced than pretty much most of the classes you'll get here at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, it won't be, the deep literature that you would be dealing with in your junior senior year if you happen to end up going for a bachelor's in English, a BA in English. So you'll just be reading parts of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I'll go to right now. You'll be reading book 1 and book 24. So we read pages 121 to 125, 129 to 144, and 158 to 177. That includes the actual books, and it also includes some precursor information about the Iliad, and you'll have the same thing on the Odyssey as well. So it'll kind of give you a heads up on what to look for, a nice bit of information on the details of the story and as a whole, but also the parts that you're actually reading, background. And that will be good because those are things in which you can type about when it comes to your reader responses and your essays in this course. So always, when asked to read those beginning parts, read those, because that's a good place to fill in the gaps of a lot of the things that you will actually be reading. I also always advise, if you have any information between books or after the books as you read that as well, because that will also help fill in those gaps as you'd like. So as I noted, book 1 and book 24, pages 121 to 125, 129 to 144, and pages 158 to 177, and that is the Iliad. Then you will read the Odyssey, which is books 1, book 4, and book 11. And so you'll read pages 125 to 129, which is your introductory stuff, 178 to 188, page 210 to page 230, and page 296 to page 312. So again, you're reading some of the books of the Iliad and Odyssey, but you're not reading the whole thing, so don't freak out too much when it comes to that. But you do need to read what it is assigned to you. So make sure you do that. So you get into the reader response. If you've had my courses before, you know what I'm talking about, but a lot of you might not have. So let me go into some detail about what I want when it comes to the reader responses. First things first, it must be an MLA 8th edition, which means header, page header, and title. Header and title must be on the first page, page headers on every single page. I shouldn't have to go into detail about what that is. I do have a model under announcements of what I expect. The truth is, if you're in a sophomore course, you don't know how to do this. I don't know how you got here. That way, somebody screwed up. Let's just say that. If you got to this course and you don't know how to do a proper MLA 8th edition header, page, or title, somebody on our end or wherever you went to community college screwed up or university screwed up, because you need to have known that all by now. But there is a model on our under announcements, so you can look at how those things should be. And you should know, as someone who should know MLA 8, that you need to make sure it is double spaced. Everything you compose for an MLA 8th edition composition needs to be double spaced. The font needs to be a 12-point font. It needs to be in Times New Roman, Veranda, Arial, or Calibri, one of your normal type fonts. That's highly important, because if you choose a too much of a fancy curly-Q-ish looking font, and we cannot tell the difference between if you're referencing the work of literature or if in particular the work of literature characters is the same name as a title, that could cause some serious issues, particularly in here, because you will be dealing with Gilgamesh, in which you will have to differentiate between Beowulf. You'll have to differentiate between the two. Don Quixote, differentiate between the two. And just so you know, in all works in this course, I do believe in all the grander works, any of the larger works you'll be dealing with in this course, which is almost all of them, you italicize this title. In fact, you may have noticed in your syllabus, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Canterbury Tales, Beowulf, Don Quixote, even the play title, The Taming of the Shrew, even the movie title of 10 Things I Hate About You, all are italicized, because anything, and you should know this as well, but I'll go this with you as well again, any larger work of literature or of any type of media, the title is italicized. Think of it this way. If you're referencing music, when you're referencing an album title, when you write that out, you're supposed to italicize the album title. You go to a smaller work of literature or of any form of media, and the example I would give, the song title, whereas the album title and the larger works of literature or movie titles are all italicized. When you get to the smaller works of literature or something like a song title, you put quote marks around it. And so when you're referencing, and in this class, it really deals with one thing, and that's Lavo-Lastic, which are the lays of Marie de France. So within those title references, you put quote marks. But anything and everything else that you have within this, there might be some issues with Canterbury Tales. Canterbury Tales, the title of Canterbury Tales, you would italicize, but the actual tales within the Canterbury Tales, you would put quote marks around them. So they're the smaller works as a part of the overall larger work. So even the Lays of Marie de France, in fact, I just noticed now I do have an error on my syllabus, because technically the Lays of Marie de France, or it's just as Lays, that actually should be italicized. Why? Because the individual lay within it, Lanville and Lastic, that should have quote marks around it, because that's the smaller work as a part of the whole larger work of the collection itself. So just note that there is an error on the syllabus. Lay should be italicized, but if you reference Lanford or Lastic when you get there, you should put quote marks around that title. And I'll be clearer on that once we get closer to those works as well. But whenever you reference the Iliad or the Odyssey in any composition, so since we're dealing with it this week, you italicize those titles. So when you have your reader response and you reference any of those titles, you make sure you italicize those titles. I will say this, though. I already told you about it. You must have a page header, and title. Be creative with your title. Do not title this reader response the Iliad or the Odyssey, or the Iliad and the Odyssey. First off, you're technically taking credit for something you didn't do. When you title any composition of yours Iliad, you're saying you wrote the Iliad. You didn't write the Iliad. So the Odyssey, same way. You didn't write the Odyssey. So you wouldn't have that as your title, or even combining the two. You might be able to get creative and have something creative, the Iliad and the Odyssey, or the Iliad or the Odyssey, then that's perfectly fine, and that's something that's acceptable as far as the title is concerned. But don't just have your title be the work of literature that you're dealing with. But even worse than that, or as bad or worse than that, would be to title it Reader Response 1, or when it comes to titling it The Ancient World, because you're not really telling your reader much. Ancient world. What about the ancient world? Are you going into literature like we are supposed to, or are you dealing with history, or there's some scientific stuff, or what? You've given your reader no heads up on really what you're discussing. I always tell my students in my Comp 1 courses, when they would title their essays narrative essay. Who wants to read narrative essay? I'm paid to read narrative essays, and I don't want to read narrative essay because you've given me no heads up. Your title is the first bit of creativity your reader sees. If they see a boring title, they're expect a boring read, and they will find it. So be creative. Don't be boring, which would be just giving it the title of the literature work you're dealing with. Don't be academic, which is worse than being boring. Don't be boring and academic by saying it's, the ancient world essay, which technically isn't even that you can remember because it's going to be elements of analysis within this. Worse than that would be saying both. I can say tell students not to do either, and they're not doing both. I don't know why students do that, but you're throwing even more points away. But even worse than that would be not having a title whatsoever. Again, your title is the first bit of creativity your reader sees. So be creative. Have it be something that holds your reader's attention. You should have learned this in Comp 1. There's 3 moments in which you can grab your reader's attention: the title, the hook part of your thesis paragraph, and the thesis statement of your thesis paragraph. And you really should have all 3 grabbing your reader's attention. At the very least, have one grab their attention, although you should have all 3. If you don't grab their attention by the end of the first paragraph, you've lost them. They're done. They're not going to read on by then. So make sure you do those things to grab your reader and hold them in. So make sure you do that. Now, as far as what is expected, as far as the parameters of a reader response, what do I want? Well, as far as the structural concern, obviously, I've already told you before, MLA 8th edition header, page header title, 12-point font, double spaced. I already told you. These are all things I shouldn't have to tell you. You should have already known this, but I've learned if I don't go over it with all students, some things will get lost. Other structural concerns. You have at least 2 paragraphs in the reader response, and the entire composition with the 2 paragraphs minimum and your header, page, and title needs to at least get to the bottom of page 1. It can go longer if you want. If you go on to page 2, by all means do so. If it goes even longer than that, that's fine as well. But the bare minimum of what I expect when it comes to reader response is at least 2 solid paragraphs, and then combining the 2 solid paragraphs plus the header, page, header, and title, the entire composition gets you at least to the bottom line of page 1. It can go over if you want. So that's what the least of what I expect when it comes to reader response structurally. Now, as far as content is concerned, what do I want? If you've taken my Comp 2, you know that I want points of analysis within the literature itself, dealing in areas of thematic importance, and dealing with certain motifs that you see throughout literature that you might want to delve into, that there's certain symbolism of things within the work itself that mean more than just the thing that is there. I mean, Achilles' armor. Is Achilles' armor just armor, or is there something more to it when you're dealing with that? And certain other things that you will deal with in the literature. You'll see certain things that there's more symbolic importance than just it being an item that's randomly brought up out of nowhere. There's a reason it gets brought up, and sometimes repeatedly brought up. So these are the areas you can deal with. And in a Comp 2 world, it would be more focused on the analysis, and you would have parts of summary within it, but you wouldn't want to go overboard with it. You want enough summary from the story itself to back up the point of analysis that you brought up. But the last thing I want is you just doing a straight summary of the Iliad or the Odyssey. I already know what goes on in those books because, well, I've read them because I'm teaching them. And that's what I would want in a Comp 2 course. In a World Lit course, I still want that, though it can be more evenly balanced between the points of analysis and the literature summarization. There could be more of an equal balance, whereas in a Comp 2 course, it's more about the analysis, so I always want the analysis to dominate, and then just enough of the story to back it up. If you want to have it more evenly balanced, that's perfectly fine. If you still have it to where the analysis dominates, by all means, that's fine. But as long as you can do an even amount of analysis with the summary that backs it up, that's what I want when it comes to your reader responses. And I want that for the reader responses, and I will also want that when it comes time for the essays. The main difference between the reader responses and the essays will be, whereas in the reader responses, it'll be from the week prior and one point of analysis at least. When you get to the essays, it will be from the entire sections of works, ancient world, Middle Ages, and the Renaissance. So that entire grouping of works, at least a minimum of 1,000 words, and you'll need at least 3 points of analysis in that. And then since it'll be a full-formed essay, having a proper thesis paragraph, having a proper concluding paragraph, and with at least 3 body paragraphs, getting to, again, at least 1,000 words. So that's what I want when it comes to the essay itself. And by the way, so you know, I do allow you to use the reader response point of analysis merged in with 2 more points of analysis that did not come from the reader response, and that then makes your 3 points of analysis for your essay. So basically allows you to build the essay as the semester goes along. A reader response becomes an essay, and then you do that 3 times. Reader response to an essay, reader response to an essay, reader response to an essay, and then you can take one of those 3 essays and build that up, backing it up with source material, doing it in a proper MLA edition style, and then that would be your research essay for the end of the semester. So basically you're building an essay throughout the entirety of the semester, and so that is what I want as far as the overall work within this course. Let me see. So yeah, so because you will have a research essay paper in this class, which is basically to take one of your 3 prior essays and then back it up with source material, and then do a proper MLA edition style. You'll have reader responses every week. There's a work of literature, and or in case of, let me see, just to make sure. I do believe I also have one the week you'll be doing visual elements as well. It won't be reading, but you'll have a visual element, so you'll have a reader response. They'll be dealing with that, probably taking it through if I remember correctly. So you'll have one of those for all those weeks. You will have 3 regular 1,000-word essays dealing with the 3 different eras of literature which you're dealing with: the ancient world, the Middle Ages, and the Renaissance. You will have a research essay that takes one of those essays and backs it up with source material. And you will also have a proctored exam that you must complete. That now I say that to say a proctored is going to be different this year. Generally, you would have gone to a proctored test site to have taken the proctored exam, but they only had a limited amount of spaces, and most, if not all of them, were actually gone the first 2 weeks of the entire semester. And since we didn't start this course until a few days ago, we obviously would not be able to get into the spots. So you'll be able to take the proctored exam from home, but there's going to be a system that you're going to be using that we will provide for you that will allow you to take the proctored exam from home, but it basically locks everything else out, so you have no access to anything else on your computer. It mandates that there's visual confirmation with you and your driver's license that you are who you are, so nobody else is taking your quiz for you. Basically, there's a whole step in line to make sure that you are actually taking your own quiz. And we'll go into more detail about that when we get closer to that in the semester. That'll be a November thing, because I'll be doing that with all of my courses, with different quizzes that they will be having. So you will have that, but that won't be till, actually, that won't even be until, you have until late November until early December. In fact, the last date in which you'd be allowed to take a proctored quiz would be December the 10th. So we've got a little time to do that, but we'll build towards it. And that's the work you'll be dealing with in this class. So as far as this week is concerned, you just have the reader response. So you have a reader response on either the Iliad or the Odyssey, or if you'd like to do both, combine it to one. If you don't think there's enough content in one or the other to write enough about to where you could feel comfortable, you can have both. That's fine. Just make sure whatever point you're bringing up is in both. The point of analysis is in both works if you needed to have both works in your reader response. So make sure you've read the entirety of your syllabus. There's so much in this that you need to make sure, and always make sure you read your syllabus before ever asking me a question that is answered by the syllabus, because your sophomores, you should know by now how bad a thing that is to ask a question when it's clearly answered by the syllabus or information that has already been given to you. Now, if there's something in the syllabus that you're not totally clear about, make that known. Hey, I'm not totally clear about this part of the syllabus. Could you make it clear? Then I'll be more than happy to answer whatever questions you need. But the syllabus does give you a heads up on what all you will be dealing with within this course, certain dates that you'll be dealing with those things. The grading scale is 10-point scale, the percentages of all the works. The Ancient World and Middle Ages essays are each individually 10%, so that's 10% and another 10%. The Renaissance essay is another 20%, so that's 40% total by that point. The reader responses, I averaged them all together, although actually the 3 lowest read response grades, or check that, the 2 lowest read response grades get dropped in this class, and then the rest get averaged together to make an overall average of 10% of the overall grade. So that's 50% by that point. The proctored exam, proctored quiz you'll be taking, which again will be more of an online, but locked down online on your own, will be 25%, 75% of the course, and then the final research paper is another 25%, making the whole of the 100% of the course. Everything will be done on MLA 8th edition style. All of the ramifications, specifications that I asked for before verbally with you are in the syllabus about what all compositions need to be like. And so, and all compositions need to be done .doc.docx or .rtf format, meaning use Microsoft Word is basically what that means. Use anything in Word, you're risking it, because if your composition does not go through both Turnitin and Canvas, it's a 0. If it doesn't go through Canvas, I won't be able to read it. If it doesn't go through Turnitin, then I'm going to think you're trying to pull some shadiness on me, and you'll just get a 0 out of principle. The academic integrity policy, I would hope by this point there wouldn't be a need for this. I've already having issues with my beginning and Comp 1 courses. I've had one student, even one of my Comp 2s, usually by the time Comp 2 rolls around, they've already been gotten. So, so go in there. So I hope not to have an issue with any of y'all, but if you don't think this stuff works and it won't catch you, by all means, try it. Try me too. I've already have at least 4 students so far this semester that have failed my courses because of academic integrity violations, and another 4 that have committed them at least once. So read over that part. And let me just tell you this, how much do I believe in academic integrity? This is hopefully the policy that will be taken up hopefully soon by the entire campus, the entire college, all 3 main campuses, all the satellites. They're working on some of the little details here, there, and everywhere up in Perkiston right now with the with the vice presidents and all that. But how much do I believe in this policy? I'm the one who put it together. So this policy that I hope will be the entire college's policy is one that I put together. So I believe in it very strongly. Just read the rest of the syllabus, read all the important details, information. If you're not clear on certain things, make sure in any email it's like, well, I'm not totally clear about this thing. Don't just, because then that will ease my, are they just trying to, not read on their own. It's like, well, I've read this part, but I don't understand. That's perfectly fine. But if it's one of those, you ask a question that's clearly answered by the syllabus, I'll just say it's in the syllabus. So make sure you do what needs to be done in reading that. And then, go over the library orientation slideshow that is under announcements. So read the syllabus, read the slideshow and that library orientation slideshow, read a bunch of the other announcements that are there as well, including dealing with MLA 8th edition header, picture, and title. And then, of course, read the books of the Iliad that I've assigned and the books of the Odyssey that I've assigned. And then you have a reader response, at least 2 paragraphs, at least get to the bottom of page 1. Critical analysis of either the Iliad or the Odyssey or both. 1 point of critical analysis on one of those works or both. It is due October the 27th at 2:59 a.m. So don't lie to yourself and say to yourself, hey, I have all day Tuesday to do it. No, you don't. Let's just say it's due Monday night. So there's no issues there. So make sure you get that done. And that's it as far as this video. They will, hopefully the videos won't be this long from now on. The first one always is long because I have to go into a lot of detail simply because I want to head certain issues off now rather than they show up in your compositions and then I have to do it bit by bit, because then that takes more time and it actually costs you points, and I'd rather not do that. So this is it as far as this video is concerned. Again, I'll try to do the video next week on Wednesday, maybe even earlier if I feel there's a need for that. I hope you're all doing well. I welcome you to this World Literature 1 course, and I will send another video next week.